High school graduate, hello. You're still alive? You might have died somewhere, I thought. I apologize for disappointing you. I'm still alive. I notice you haven't changed either. Mike became agitated and retorted, a high school graduate like you has no right to laugh at me, as I laughed. You are aware that I am a distinguished employee at Maverick Bank. Oh, really? That is quite remarkable. Mike had a proud look on his face and raised his chin a little. A high school graduate loser like you is very different from me. Are you even a Maverick Bank customer? Yeah, I do. Most likely, it's just peanuts. For us staff, you are simply a nuisance. Get rid of your account now. You and other recent high school graduates will always be impoverished. Mike believed that having a high school diploma equated to being impoverished. Is that correct? I could, however, close my account for you if you persist. Are you certain of that? I am, of course. Maverick Bank doesn't give a damn whether you close your account or not. Mike said that with a hearty laugh. When I checked my phone after the meeting the following day, I saw multiple missed calls from an unidentified number. Once more, the same number was phoning. Hey, Chris, what's going on? Chris Miller is my name. I am still unmarried at 47 years old. I haven't even considered dating because I've been so preoccupied with my job. My early hardships are the reason I've been so focused on my career. My mother was a stay-at-home mom when I was a child since my father worked at a bank and made a good living. I led a comfortable life with my sister. Our parents would immediately take us to a restaurant if we wanted to eat barbecue and would enroll us in classes if we wanted to take them. However, my father passed away in an accident just after I completed my high school and college exams. The event was abrupt and startling. I don't recall much from that period, but I'm sure I was in a stupor, and my mother was devastated. After that, our entire way of life altered. Despite the fact that my father had given us some money, my mother was struggling to support her 2 children. I enrolled in a prominent college with my mother's strong encouragement. However, I made the decision to forego college and begin working after witnessing my mother work nonstop without even taking breaks for sleep. My mother sobbed uncontrollably when I told her about my choice. Why does it have to be this way? But in retrospect, I think I made the right choice. I became the family's primary provider and devoted all of my energy to studying management. Under the leadership of the company's highly talented president, I gathered a variety of experiences before launching my own business in my mid-20s. As a result, I was able to ease my mother's burden and send my sister to college. From the outside, it might look like I sacrificed myself, but I don't see it that way. I got to experience the world a little earlier than my peers and started my business a little earlier too. I'm confident in the life I've built. One busy day, I got a call from my mother back home. She said I'd received an invitation to a middle school reunion. The organizer from my middle school must be a really diligent guy. Starting with our 21st birthday, they've been organizing reunions every 10 years. But I've never attended even one. I couldn't even be bothered to send a reply card and asked my mom to leave it alone. After that, we chatted briefly before ending the call. Don't you want to see your old friends? My mother asked. But I don't have any good memories from my middle school days. The only person I could call a friend from that time is Matt. He's been my buddy since we were kids, playing together since kindergarten. I still keep in touch with Matt, and we sometimes go out for drinks together, but there's no one else I really want to see. And there are more people from middle school that I'd rather avoid. Since I attended a public middle school, we were joined by students from other elementary schools when we moved up. Among them was a student who stood out more than anyone else, a boy named Mike. He came from a different elementary school than I did. On the first day, he had 3 classmates following him like his lackeys, and he started making a big speech while sitting on top of his desk. My name is Mike Taylor. I'm the heir to the famous Taylor family. From today on, my word is law. Got it. Anyone who doesn't listen to me will regret it. To me, Matt, and the other kids from my elementary school, we just thought, what's this guy talking about? But it turned out he was really a monster. The Taylor family was indeed well known locally. They were historically the landowners in the area, owning large tracts of land and running various businesses, amassing a huge fortune. They also had significant influence in local politics. Maybe it was because of this background, but Mike always craved attention and had to be the center of everything. If anyone stood out more than him or dared to challenge him, he'd boast, "I'll tell my dad, and he'll make sure your parents can't work anymore." And he meant it. There was even a classmate whose father lost his job and had to move out of state after defying Mike. If Mike's father couldn't directly affect someone's job, Mike would resort to nasty harassment. To avoid provoking him, Matt and I took a neutral stance, neither agreeing nor disagreeing with him. But one day Matt, unable to stand it any longer, spoke up. He caught Mike trying to drag an unwilling female classmate away after school. "Hey, Mike, cut it out. She doesn't want to go with you." "Huh? Who do you think you are? You've got some nerve trying to tell me what to do." Mike's attention shifted to Matt, and his grip on the girl loosened, allowing her to escape. "Oh man, she got away. What are you going to do about it?" "Nothing, really." "What? You little punk." Knowing Matt's strong sense of justice, I had a feeling something like this would happen eventually. But watching it unfold, I was anxious. In a TV drama, this might be where a fight breaks out. But Mike, while smart, wasn't physically strong. "You'll pay for this. Just wait and see." Unable to win in a fight, Mike left with his lackey and towel. But the real trouble started the next day. Mike began a campaign of harassment against Matt. His indoor shoes were hidden, his gym clothes disappeared, and his textbooks were defaced. It was obviously Mike's doing, but there was no solid proof. At first, Matt was clearly rattled. But once he was sure it was Mike, he just shrugged it off like it was nothing new. This seemed to bore Mike, so he ordered the entire class to ignore Matt. By that time, everyone in the class had realized that crossing Mike would only lead to trouble, so they obediently followed his orders. But I thought it was ridiculous and continued to interact with Matt as usual. This didn't sit well with Mike, and he turned his attention to me next. Just like with Matt, my indoor shoes went missing, my gym clothes disappeared, and my textbooks were defaced. "Sorry, I didn't mean to drag you into this. Don't worry about it. I don't like Mike either." Of course, things got so out of hand that Matt and I eventually talked to our homeroom teacher about it. The teacher tried to investigate Mike's harassment, but at the time, Mike's father was the president of the PTA, and the investigation was quietly dropped. In the end, their petty harassment continued until we graduated from middle school. After that, Mike was accepted into the same prestigious high school I went to. I couldn't believe I'd have to attend the same school as him again. But in high school, being the son of a local big shot didn't carry the same weight as it did in middle school, and his influence dwindled. The fact that his lackey went to other high schools probably played a big part in that. Still, whenever he saw me, he tried to pick a fight. "Oh, Chris, is that you? So you made it into this high school too. Not bad for someone like you. Want me to be your friend?" "Huh. No thanks." "What did you say?" "I'm offering to be your friend, and you have the nerve to turn me down. You're just as annoying as ever." At the time, I didn't have the luxury to deal with Mike's antics. After school, I'd go straight to my part-time job to help support my family. However, about 6 months later, when my mother fell ill, I decided to forego college and start working instead. In a way, I thought I had escaped from Mike as well. But I was wrong. Mike's persistence didn't change even as we grew older. Around 30 years have passed since then, and now I'm 47 years old. Even though I received an invitation to the reunion, I didn't think it had anything to do with me. But after my mother's recent call, I also got a message from Matt about the reunion. Hey Chris, long time no see. Did you get the reunion invite? Oh, Matt. Yeah, it's been a while. I heard from my mom that it arrived at home. Mr. Thompson is supposed to attend this time too. You're going, right? Mr. Thompson was our homeroom teacher in the 3rd year of middle school. This year, Mr. Thompson is turning 70, so the reunion was also organized as a celebration of his milestone birthday. Mr. Thompson was the one who questioned the school's policy of avoiding conflict and did his best to protect Matt and me from Mike and his gang. Although he couldn't beat the larger institution of the school, he was a teacher who supported and encouraged us. He was also there for me when I was devastated by my father's death. Having Mr. Thompson in my life gave me the strength to work hard and push forward. However, I hadn't seen him since we graduated from middle school. I don't want to see Mike and the others, but I do want to thank Mr. Thompson. I wasn't planning to go, but if that's the case, maybe I'll drop by at the beginning. Since Matt was going too, I decided to attend the reunion to offer my congratulations and thanks to our teacher. On the day of the reunion, there was an unusually large turnout, as it also doubled as a celebration for our homeroom teacher's milestone. The event was held at the banquet hall of the only hotel in town, right by the station. I met up with Matt at the station, and we walked to the hotel together. It had been a year since I last saw Matt, partly because I've been busy with work. After checking in, we entered the banquet hall, and the first thing that caught my eye was Mike, making a big scene as usual. Has Mike always been like that? Even at this age? Yeah, he hasn't changed at all. He works at Maverick Bank now, but he's known for being rude to customers. Matt still lived with his family after getting married, so he was well informed of the local situation. So he's at Maverick Bank, huh? As we were chatting, Mike noticed us. Oh, look who's here. I haven't seen Chris since he graduated from high school. Mike made sure to say it loudly on purpose. Some things never change. He and his old middle school cronies started walking toward us, grinning. Hey, high school grad. Still alive? Huh. I thought you might have dropped dead somewhere. Mike shouted that out loudly, and his lackeys burst into obnoxious laughter. Yeah, sorry to disappoint. I'm doing fine. You haven't changed either. I sneered, and Mike, clearly annoyed, shot back. A high school grad like you has no right to laugh at me. I'm an esteemed employee at Maverick Bank, you know. Oh, really? That's impressive. Mike lifted his chin slightly, wearing a proud expression. I'm on a whole different level from a high school grad loser like you. Do you even have an account at Maverick Bank? Yeah, I do. It's probably just peanuts anyway. All it does is waste our time. Close your account already. High school grads like you will always be poor. To Mike, it seems that being a high school grad automatically meant being poor. Is that so? Well, if you insist, I could close my account for you. Are you sure about that? Of course I am. Whether you close your account or not, Maverick Bank couldn't care less. Mike laughed heartily as he said that, but the other alumni were watching him from a distance. It was just like in middle school. Fed up with the scene, I greeted Mr. Thompson and left the reunion. As I waited for the elevator to take me down to the hotel lobby, I heard his voice from behind me. It was Mike. Oh, look who it is, Chris. Heading home already. Isn't it a bit early? Oh, right. I guess a high school graduate can't keep up with the conversation. Not again. I was utterly exhausted by this point. Mike had apparently been in the restroom and was now making a big scene, holding the banquet hall door open and shouting. I pretended not to notice him, but I knew all too well that he wasn't the type to let something like that slide. Ignoring me, Chris? You couldn't go to college because your family was too poor, right? Mike said this as loudly as he could. I didn't fail to go to college. I chose not to. That's just a way of spinning it. Either way, you're still a loser. A high school god like you must not have much of a life. Serves you right. I could hear people talking inside the hall. Chris was really smart, wasn't he? It's a shame he only graduated from high school. I didn't know he was just a high school grad. Mike flashed a sneering grin at me, and after one last loud laugh, he went back into the hall, seemingly satisfied. The next day, after a meeting, I checked my phone and saw several missed calls from an unknown number. Thinking it might be a wrong number, I was about to ignore it when the same number called again. As soon as I answered, I recognized the voice immediately. It was the last voice I ever wanted to hear. It was Mike. I had no idea how he got my number, but he was practically shouting on the other end of the line. "Hey, Chris, what's going on? I just saw the newspaper. Are you really the president of Supreme Ventures Group?" Mike was more excited than I'd ever heard him. "Yeah, that's right. So what? You've got to be kidding me. How did someone like you get to be so important?" Mike was clearly shaken. "Are you really the president of Supreme Ventures Group? Since when? What's the deal?" Apparently, the newspaper article featured my name and photo as the president of Supreme Ventures Group. Mike, in disbelief, had called to confirm. Looks like Matt jumped the gun with that article. The truth is, Matt works as a journalist for an economic newspaper. After I left the reunion yesterday, I went out for drinks with Matt, and we talked about how Mike had told me to close my account. We were actually in the middle of a meeting about moving the group's corporate accounts, but Mike saw things differently. "What kind of shady stuff did you do to get where you are?" "That's pretty rude. I just grew my company through hard work." "No way. You're more successful than me. It's impossible for you to be more important than I am." Mike couldn't hide his irritation that someone he once looked down on had surpassed him. But that wasn't my concern. "By the way, I'm heading over to close my account at Maverick Bank, just like you said. Make sure everything's ready." "Yeah, go ahead and close it." Mike was so focused on the fact that I was now a president that he didn't seem to have fully read the article. But I didn't really care about that. When I arrived at the Maverick Bank branch at 10, the place was buzzing. Everyone must have seen the newspaper article this morning. The staff were whispering to each other like a game of telephone, and eventually one of them disappeared into a back room. I looked around the bank and spotted Mike, then walked over to him. He seemed completely out of touch with the mood around him. "Oh, Chris, here to close out that pathetic little account of yours, huh? You were bragging about being a president, but it looks like you're not making any money. Guess you're not much after all." "Yeah, I'm here to move the $230 million I've deposited at your bank to another one, just as you suggested. No complaints, right? After all, my tiny deposit was just causing you trouble, wasn't it? This should make your job a lot easier. You're lucky to have such a considerate classmate." "What? $230 million, but your account only had a few $100. "Oh, you must be talking about that old personal account I used for payroll when I first started working." "Yeah, I guess I did leave that one untouched for a while." "Sure, I used it for living expenses, so there's not much left. I'll close that one too." With that, I handed Mike a copy of this morning's financial newspaper. The funds from Supreme Ventures Group's corporate accounts will be fully transferred to Summit Bank, and the accounts at Maverick Bank will be closed. This is expected to result in significant losses for Maverick Bank, potentially leading to difficulties in maintaining operations, and could even result in a merger with Summit Bank. What the hell is this? Mike read aloud from the front page scoop of this morning's financial newspaper. "Chris, stop lying. There's no way you have that kind of money. Your company's probably a small-time operation. Don't try to act all high and mighty." Even now, Mike refused to acknowledge me. Just then, the branch manager and the head of the bank walked out from the back, deeply apologizing. "Mr. Miller, we are always grateful for your business. Could you please explain the article in this morning's financial newspaper? Mr. Miller, has our bank caused you any inconvenience? They bombarded me with questions. I decided to tell them the truth. Well, your employee here, Mike, advised me to close my account because it was just causing trouble. So, I've decided to follow his advice and close it. Both of them simultaneously glared at Mike. Mike, what have you done? No. I wasn't suggesting he close the corporate accounts, just his personal one. Mike tried desperately to explain what an employee advising a customer to close their account without any reason meant. What's going on here? Mike hung his head. Mr. Miller is one of our most valued clients, someone who has supported our bank. Mike, did you not know that? Huh. This bank should be fine with my dad's assets. It shouldn't matter if Chris's company pulls out. My dad's a big deal in this town. Apparently, you're unaware. Your father was indeed a great patron of our bank. However, he recently suffered significant losses in the FX market and is now burdened with debt. To cover those losses, he's had to liquidate quite a bit of his deposits, and I hear he's planning to sell some land soon. It seemed Mike was completely unaware. His eyes widened with shock. What? No way. It's true. Don't you read the financial news, Mike? Just the other day, there was a big article about the Taylor family being on the verge of bankruptcy. Turning back to the branch manager and the head of the bank, I said, So, I'll be closing all of Supreme Ventures Group's corporate accounts. Please proceed with the necessary steps. Hearing this, both the branch manager and the head of the bank turned pale. Mr. Miller, if you close your accounts now, our bank won't be able to survive. We sincerely apologize for the rudeness of our employee. Could you please reconsider? No. As you're aware, our group owns Summit Bank, and we've agreed to consolidate everything there moving forward. Until now, I've trusted you and kept our group's assets at Maverick Bank, but I can't continue to do business with a bank that employs someone like Mike. The decision to close the accounts is final. The branch manager and the head of the bank looked up to the sky in despair. Mike watched the scene with an embarrassed expression on his face. After a brief silence, the head of the bank spoke with determination. Mr. Miller, we understand. We will prepare to close the corporate accounts and transfer all funds to Summit Bank. We will contact you as soon as the process is ready. Thank you. I appreciate it. With that, I left Maverick Bank. As I glanced back, I saw Mike being forced by the branch manager to apologize deeply, his expression bitter. Served him right. A few days later, I received a call from the branch manager that the account closure process was ready, and I returned to Maverick Bank. To my surprise, Mike was still working there. Is he getting special treatment because he's the son of a local big shot? And to top it off, Mike himself insisted on handling my account closure. The branch manager was also present, which made me wonder if there was some ulterior motive. My instincts were correct. As I was called into a private room and the account closure process began, Mike leaned in and whispered to me while the branch manager was away fetching the head of the bank. Hey, Chris, cancel this account closure. Huh. You're the one who told me to close it. I'm just following your orders. I'm telling you to cancel it now. That was obviously a joke. You need to save my reputation. I was utterly infuriated. Even at this point, Mike was still trying to manipulate people. If I can get you to cancel the closure, I won't face any consequences. Just help me out. No, you arrogant jerk. You think you can get away with this. Just as Mike was about to grab my collar, the head of the bank and the branch manager walked in. Mike, what are you trying to do to Mr. Miller? I've had a bad feeling about this ever since you insisted on handling this closure yourself. So this was your plan all along. No, that's not what I meant. Mike stammered. It turned out that Mike had requested to handle the closure personally, claiming he could persuade me to cancel it. The branch manager had given him a chance, but now it was clear what Mike's real intentions were. That's enough. Mike, step aside. the branch manager, and I will handle the rest of the process. You'll be informed about your disciplinary action later. In the meantime, you're suspended." But sir, my father has always supported this bank. You can't do this to me." "Yes, your father was a great supporter of this bank. But that was your father, not you. Your attitude and performance will be reviewed as well, so be prepared." The branch manager's tone was icy. Mike, who had always been given leniency as the son of a local big shot, was now facing the consequences due to his father's diminished influence and the significant loss he had caused the bank. "Mr. Miller, the account closure process is complete. The full $230 million has been transferred to Summit Bank. We sincerely appreciate your business and are deeply grateful for your trust in us. Should you ever wish to open an account with us again, we would be honored to serve you." The head of the bank, though clearly distressed, handled the situation with professionalism. I had always trusted him for his respectful approach, so it was disappointing to see things end this way. I later learned more about Mike's fate through Matt. When it became clear that Mike's reckless behavior had caused significant losses for the bank, his colleagues and subordinates unleashed their pent-up frustrations. It turned out that Mike had been using his father's name to intimidate them, just as he had done in middle school. Mike was seen as a capable employee by his superiors, but that reputation was built on stealing clients from his colleagues and subordinates. He had threatened them, saying, "If you snitch on me, I'll make sure you can't work at this bank anymore." "Mike, I'm disappointed in you. Your demotion and pay cut are confirmed." "What? Why am I being demoted? I'm meant to be in charge." "Stop acting like a big shot. You don't have what it takes to lead others. Start by taking a good look at yourself." Despite the branch manager's words, they seemed to go in one ear and out the other. It might be too late for Mike to change his ways after living like this for so long. But his pride wouldn't let him accept the demotion. He resigned from Maverick Bank without thinking about the consequences. Around the same time, Mike's scandal came to light. He had been brazenly having an affair with the branch manager's wife. She was a former classmate of ours and also Mike's ex-girlfriend. They were quite similar in temperament, making them a fitting pair in some ways. Apparently, Mike and the branch manager's wife rekindled their relationship at a reunion when they were both 40. The branch manager, noticing his wife's strange behavior, hired a private investigator who confirmed the affair. When he found out that the other person was Mike, he was stunned. When the branch manager informed Mike of his demotion, he confronted Mike with the evidence and demanded compensation. As a result, it's said that Mike resigned from his job and attempted to flee. The branch manager divorced his wife and sent both his ex-wife and Mike a formal notice demanding compensation. Even if Mike tried to run away, everyone knew where his family lived. There was no escaping. At 30, Mike had an arranged marriage with a wealthy woman. But when she discovered his affair, she divorced him, demanded a large settlement, and left. As the Taylor family's influence waned, even the friends who had followed Mike since elementary school scattered like spiders, abandoning him. Mike turned to his father for help with hefty loan payments, but his father, having already lost most of his wealth, was in no position to offer any assistance. Realizing he couldn't rely on his father anymore, Mike tried to find another job, but his bad reputation had already spread far and wide, and no company was willing to hire him, no matter how many interviews he attended. With no other options, Mike took on massive debt to pay off the settlements, and now scrapes by working at a convenience store during the day and as a security guard at night. But with his personality, it was no surprise he couldn't hold down any job for long and kept bouncing from one to another. One day, Matt walked into a convenience store and spotted Mike behind the counter. He immediately recognized him and was taken aback, but he was in a hurry and decided to make his purchase there. However, Mike was completely sullen at the register, offering no courtesy or service. When Mike realized it was Matt, he made an outrageous demand. "Oh, it's Matt. That'll be an extra $10. Huh. Extra for what? A tip for me. That made no sense. Asking for a tip that much at a convenience store was unheard of. Matt thought it was a joke, but then Mike started scanning random items near the register, adding an imaginary $10 to the total. That'll be $25, tip included. Knock it off. You're causing trouble, sir. As they argued, the store manager came over. Matt protested to the manager. It was obvious that the items on the receipt didn't match what he had purchased, making Mike's wrongdoing clear as day. Shortly after, Mike was fired. He had no one to blame but himself. As for me, business was booming. Supreme Ventures Group continued to grow, and we posted a profit this fiscal year. The new banking venture was also getting on track. With the Taylor family and Supreme Ventures Group, two major clients closing their accounts in quick succession, Maverick Bank's credibility plummeted. Its momentum stalled, and it fell into a financial crisis. As a result, the head of Maverick Bank decided to proceed with a merger with Summit Bank. Ironically, the situation unfolded just as Matt's early article had predicted. However, thanks to my recommendation, the former head of Maverick Bank was appointed as the head of the newly formed Summit Maverick Bank. With his exceptional leadership and management skills, Summit Maverick Bank was aiming even higher. The branch manager and the rest of the staff, except for Mike, continued to work at the newly rebranded Summit Maverick Bank's Branch 10. I found myself recalling the words of Mr. Thompson, whom we had met again at the reunion. Mr. Thompson had arrived just before the reunion began, so Matt and I, not planning to stay long, went to congratulate him on his 70th birthday and thank him for his support during our middle school years. Right after the toast, at that moment, Mr. Thompson remembered both Matt and me very well. When we called his name, he greeted us with open arms. "Chris and Matt, how have you been?" That alone was touching, but then Mr. Thompson, hugging us both, said, "You've both grown into such fine men. I'm sorry I couldn't resolve things for you back then. It's something I regret in my teaching career. But seeing how strong and successful you've become, I'm truly grateful." We had come to thank him, but instead, he thanked us. Amazingly, Mr. Thompson continued to think about us even after we graduated, saving clippings of the interview I gave as president for a business magazine and the articles Matt had written. "Matt, I'm thinking about expanding overseas soon." "Oh." Finally, Matt pulled out a notepad, ready to jot down details. "Hey, no early articles this time. It's still just a concept." "Got it. But it's hard to. Is this?" We both laughed. We swore to live our lives without regret, just as Mr. Thompson had encouraged us to do. My name is Kevin. This year, I turned 40. I work at a small-town factory near my home, manufacturing auto parts, mainly car lights. My job is to supervise temporary workers lined up on the assembly line and ensure we deliver the specified lights by the deadline. Some of these workers have issues that trouble me, and one such case is the recently joined Emily Smith. There are no problems with her work or performance. In Emily's case, it's not so much a problem as it is a concern. Emily didn't have lunch again today. I asked her, sitting in a corner of the cafeteria during lunch break. She looked up at me awkwardly. "Yes, I didn't have time to buy," she said. "You can leave the factory to buy some," I suggested. "But wouldn't that be against the company's rules?" she asked. "It can't be helped. If you don't eat properly, it'll affect your work in the afternoon too," I replied. "I'm sorry, but I don't have the money to buy food," she said. Again, she not only doesn't bring lunch, but she also barely has any money on her. Even as a temp, she should be making between $1,800 to $2,000 a month, including overtime. The pay might be low, but it's not so bad that she should always be struggling financially. Plus, she lives with her parents. She should have some money to spend. "Hey, are you managing your money properly?" I asked. And Emily, you should take more care with your appearance." She looked down as I said this. Emily had just graduated from high school, but frankly, she was unkempt. Although she seemed to bathe, it appeared she wasn't washing her company uniform properly, as it was dirty and worn out. She smelled bad, causing complaints from other temp workers. "I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to use the washing machine," she explained. "That can't be true. Everyone's getting upset, so please come properly dressed from tomorrow," I insisted. She nodded weakly to my words, but at that time, I didn't realize she was in a situation far worse than I could have ever imagined. These young people nowadays really lack discipline. That night, after finishing work and returning home, I grumbled to my wife Susan for dinner about Emily again. Yes, she doesn't really bring lunch, she's careless with money, and on top of that, not washing her clothes is just the worst. Don't you think? Oh, that topic again. Susan's expression clouded. Lately, I have been complaining about Emily to my wife quite a bit. She must be tired of hearing it, but Susan's reaction was unexpected. "Maybe Emily is being mistreated by her parents," she said. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I've been hearing some rumors in the neighborhood, and it got me thinking," Susan explained. She then told me about a recent rumor she'd heard. Apparently, in a family that had moved into a public housing complex, a daughter was being neglected by her parents. The family's last name is Smith. Could it be? "Well, it seems that girl is her father's stepchild and the family treats her coldly," Susan said. "Can you keep an eye on her for a while?" Understood. I was stunned by my wife's words, but thinking about it, it explained why Emily didn't bring lunch or have any money if her parents were taking all the money she earned. Just the thought of it made me feel sick. However, I was about to witness something even more shocking. It happened on the weekend while shopping at the supermarket with my wife Susan. I coincidentally saw Emily. "Come on, hurry up and walk." "Stop it, Kevin." Emily was being hit by a little boy. It was more like playful punching around her waist, but she clearly didn't like it. Besides, there were a man and a woman who looked like her parents, laughing loudly as they watched. "Look, that's Emily, the girl you were talking about," Susan said. "No doubt about it." "Excuse me, I'll go over there for a moment," I said. "Wait, Kevin," Susan called out. I approached Emily. "Hey, what are you doing?" I asked the boy, grabbing his arm. "Let go, old man," he shouted. I looked at Emily. "Hey there, Emily. What a coincidence meeting you here, shopping with your family. Huh." "Yes, that's right," she said, her eyes filled with fear as they shifted towards her parents, who were watching me with suspicion. "Are you Emily's parents?" I asked. "I've always been grateful for her help. I'm Kevin, the factory manager." "Oh, is that so?" Her father responded with a suspicious look and a curt greeting. But then he said something astonishing. About Emily's salary. Can it be raised a bit? She even does overtime, but doesn't bring in much money. Can something be done about that?" "Jerk," her mother shouted. "We're letting you use our daughter. Pay her more." "Let go, you old jerk." The boy, whom she called Kevin, tried to shake off my hand. I released his hand. "Fine, don't mess with me," he said, and ran back to his parents. "Dad, beat up that old jerk," Kevin shouted. "Not here. We'll deal with it later." The father laughed loudly and crudely at his son's words. "What's with these people?" Susan murmured beside me. She gently tugged at my clothes, a signal to move away from these people. "Well, we'll be going then. See you at work, Emily," I said. "Hey, think about her pay raise, will you?" the father shouted after us. Ignoring the shouting boy, we walked away from the Smith family. Emily watched us leave with a longing gaze. Kevin, thank you for yesterday." The next day at work, Emily approached me. "I didn't realize what you were going through." I'm sorry for any thoughtless things I've said before. I know it's embarrassing, but I couldn't do anything about it," she said, and began to slowly share her circumstances. Since her parents divorced and she was taken in by her father, Emily had always been burdened with household chores. Because of this, there were times she couldn't go to school. After middle school, she worked part-time while attending a night high school with her father's permission. At that time, she wasn't deprived of her earnings. She had to manage everything herself, but she lived relatively freely. However, everything changed after her father remarried. Her stepmother disliked her and treated her coldly, teaching Kevin, her stepbrother, to treat Emily like a servant. Her father never reprimanded the stepmother's behavior. Instead, they demanded she pay back for being raised by taking all her earnings from her part-time jobs. Her clothes and personal belongings were thrown away by her stepmother, and she was even restricted from bathing often and washing her clothes. That's why I couldn't wash my uniform freely, and it got all tattered. I'm really sorry, she concluded her story. I was speechless for a while, overwhelmed by her situation, which was worse than I could have imagined. Despite being in such a tough situation, I thought she was strong for enduring it alone, but also felt deeply sorry for her. Then I handed her something. "Here, eat this if you'd like." "What is this?" She looked at the package I handed her with a confused expression on her face. "My wife made this packed lunch especially for you. She really wants you to have it. Just give me back the empty box when you're done. No rush." "Wow, your wife made this homemade lunch for me. I'm so touched," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. Trying to hold back her tears, she said in a trembling voice, "Thank you so much. Even though I've been such a burden, it's okay. Also, could you hand me your uniform over the weekend? My wife is eager to wash it for you." "Are you sure? You're doing so much for me," she responded in a tearful voice. "That's all we can do for you. And remember, if you ever want to leave your current situation, you can always talk to us." "Thank you. But what would my family say if I accepted help?" Tears streamed down her face as she tried to hold them back. "It's okay. I know someone who's an expert in these matters. We can definitely help you." I gently rubbed her shoulders to reassure her. Sobbing, she expressed her feelings. "I don't want to live in that house anymore. I want to have a normal life like everyone else. Please help me." Her pain, borne in silence for so long, resonated painfully with me. That night, the front of my house became a bit of a battleground. "Hey, where did you take Emily? Bring her out." For some reason, Emily's father came to my house demanding her return. He kept banging on the door, yelling at us inside. Susan looked at him anxiously. "Hey, are we okay?" she asked me. "We are fine. Besides, if we engage with him, our house will turn into a mess." I reassured her while holding her shoulder. Emily wasn't even here to begin with. It's a hassle that he showed up like this. For now, I've called the police, just like you said. Susan whispered to me while holding her phone. "Good, that's the right move." I smiled at Susan and took the phone from her. I then dialed a certain number. Soon after, Emily's parents were taken away by the police. "Phew, that was scary. I'm sorry for causing this." Emily's apologetic voice came through the phone. I spoke gently to her over the phone. "No, it's okay. Did you manage to get to the station all right?" "Yes, I'm on my way to the NPU you told me about," Emily replied happily. "Yes, I was the one who helped her run away from home." The reason Emily's parents came to my house was that I had advised her to leave a note implying she was heading here. I thought it would buy her some time to escape. "But are you sure I'll be accepted?" She sounded anxious. "Don't worry. Helping kids oppressed by their parents is what that NPU does." "Thank you so much." Her voice trailed as she spoke. I could sense her near tears even over the phone. "I've done what I can now. It's up to you. You have to carve out your own life. You okay with that?" Yes, I'll be fine. You've endured your family's unreasonable treatment for so long. I'm sure you'll be okay, no matter what difficulties you face. Yes. Oh, I've arrived. I'm going to hang up now. All right. Take care. Yes, thank you for everything. With those words, the call ended. I gently moved the phone away from my ear and smiled kindly at Susan beside me. She'll be fine. She's brave enough to ask for help. Susan smiled back and gently held my hand. Later, I heard that the NPU had reported Emily's parents to the police, and they were being investigated. Her stepbrother Kevin was taken in by his father. The next day, when the employees wondered about her absence, I simply said she had moved. Years passed in the blink of an eye. Look, Kevin, we've got a Christmas card from Emily. Really? I exclaimed as Susan handed me the card. In the Christmas card, she appears posing with her husband. She is also holding a cute baby in her arms. All three were smiling happily. She says the baby girl was born healthy last year. We need to send a gift. Emily had successfully severed ties with her parents and started a new family after our intervention. We still catch up over the phone every few months. She's now a mother. She's going to be a great mom. I agree. We smiled at each other while looking at the Christmas card. Though Emily had endured tough times, she was now happily living with her new family. I'm glad I listened to her plea for help back then, and I'm profoundly grateful to Susan for her support. Watching her smile, I thought to myself, I truly wish from the bottom of my heart that she continues to lead a happy life. How could a temporary employee be so conceited? You've been fired. The meeting room resonated with a voice as frigid as ice. With a smug smile on his face, Stephen, the company's future president, stood proudly in front of my desk. Clad in an opulent suit, he loomed over me like a predator watching its victim. The room was filled with the sound of workers holding their breath. People's eyes remained fixed on their workstations or their hands stopped typing on their keyboards since no one dared to look him in the eye. You are not required to visit tomorrow. The agreement is over. This is your last warning. But without Michael, the core system overhaul is. Desperate to push back, Sarah got to her feet. Emotion made her voice waver. Shut up. The room was rocked by Stephen's irate yell. What is there for a temporary employee to do? Everything will be all right as long as I'm present. Or would you like to be fired with him, Sarah? Sarah's face lost all of its color at that point. She looked at me with sad eyes. I had no right to destroy her life as well. I understand. Quietly, I got up. The incomplete system design was still visible on the monitor at my desk. This was the moment that would erase years of hard effort. With a victorious look on his face, Stephen struck his last blow. You are merely an expendable pawn. No one will need a failure like you whatsoever you go. What are you able to do? The days when I had put in a lot of effort to advance at Symphonia Systems, this was where it was all going to end. But in the end, this firing episode will bring about Stephen's demise. Ultimately, my actual identity was, I'm Michael. Thomas is my brother, and he is 3 years my junior. Our mother worked night shifts as a nurse, and our father was employed at construction sites. Even though they worked hard, our family's finances were never stable, and we shared a small apartment in a dilapidated complex. I never had the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities or even buy a game system, unlike my classmates. I was only able to watch my buddies play with envy. Nevertheless, my family maintained a glimmer of hope despite our difficulties. Thomas is genuinely remarkable. His future appears to be very promising. During a house visit, Thomas's homeroom teacher, Mr. Miller, said those words, and I will never forget it. My mom grinned proudly. Because of his exceptional academic performance, Thomas consistently received straight A's on his report card. He was so famous for his genius at school that even the teachers looked up to him. There were rumors that he might be recommended to an esteemed high school that is connected to a well-known institution. In contrast to Thomas, I wasn't a failure, but I certainly wasn't exceptional. As my lackluster achievements piled up, my parents' attention gradually shifted entirely toward Thomas. Look at this. Mr. Miller said Thomas could become a doctor. My mother said this proudly, showing me my brother's report card. Unable to bear it, I fled to the shared room I had with Thomas. I pulled out my own crumpled report card from the bottom of my bag and tossed it into the corner trash can. Thanks for dinner. One evening, as I was about to leave the dinner table, my mother stopped me. We've decided to send Thomas to a private tutoring school. So I'm sorry, Michael, but your allowance will be reduced starting next month. You're the older brother, so you can endure it, right? I froze at her sudden declaration. Caught off guard by my reaction, my mother simply said, "For your dear little brother, right? Don't make such a face." Leaving me with no choice, I silently nodded. That night, as I lay in bed, unable to sleep and lost in thought, Thomas spoke to me. "Michael, I'm sorry about the tutoring school fees. Don't worry about it." In the darkness, I kept staring at the ceiling. Even though I understood, I couldn't bring myself to be kind to my brother. I felt pathetic, unable to be honest. From that time on, everything in our household revolved around Thomas. To let him focus on his studies, I was kicked out of our shared room and made to sleep in the storage room. My parents no longer paid any attention to me, and the frequency of their words to me dwindled. Every day felt dull, and I began to distance myself from family gatherings, seeking a place to belong elsewhere. "You've got some sharp eyes. Why don't you join my crew?" One night, as I sat alone on a park bench, a group of rough-looking guys approached me out of nowhere. I smirked in response. Seeking an escape, I found myself hanging out with them more and more. "Michael, what on earth are you wearing?" My mother's voice rang out, and I clicked my tongue, glaring at her. "Shut up. What did you just say?" From that day, I started leaving the house before she woke up. At that time, my father was busy moving between construction sites due to the rush from a major upcoming event and rarely came home. Michael. One night, as I came home late, I locked eyes with Thomas. His hesitant gaze made me look away. As if trying to escape, I started skipping school more frequently. When the teachers reluctantly urged me to attend classes, I would sit at the back of the classroom and do nothing but nap. Not only did teachers and classmates look at me with cold, indifferent eyes, but I often overheard whispers like, "With such a brilliant younger brother." I hunched my shoulders, trying to endure it and let it pass. The sound of kicking a vending machine echoed through the quiet residential street at midnight, followed by the clatter of cans rolling away. For some reason, it gave me a sense of release. "Hey, Michael, you do it too." Egged on by my friends, I kicked the machine as hard as I could, trying to vent my frustration. A sensation spread through my body, like something inside me breaking, making everything feel meaningless. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" Every time we sped through the streets on bikes, the police would catch us, and my mother would show up in tears to take me home. "Why are you doing this?" "Shut up." For the first time in a long while, I saw the clarity in her eyes, and I couldn't bring myself to look her in the face. I turned away instinctively. This reckless lifestyle continued for about 6 months. One night, as we loitered in an alley as usual, one of my friends began grinning while looking in a certain direction. "Hey, look over there." He gestured with his chin toward a business person who seemed to have missed the last train, stumbling as he walked. Jackpot. Wait, you're not serious. I felt the blood drain from my face. This was on a completely different level from the pranks we had pulled before. "Michael, you're on lookout." Just as my mind began to spiral into panic, unable to think of how to respond, it happened. "Michael." I turned toward the voice And there, on the other side of the street, was Thomas staring at me with a puzzled expression. He began stepping onto the road. It happened in an instant. From far away, the headlights of a large truck pierced through the darkness, bearing down on us at high speed. Thomas. Without thinking, I dashed toward him, but he was faster. Michael, watch out. Thomas shoved me aside with all his strength. At that moment, the massive truck's headlights illuminated Thomas's body. The sound of something being crushed. Screams echoed everywhere, throwing the scene into chaos. Thomas. I called his name over and over again. Thomas was fortunate enough to survive, but the severe spinal injury left him completely paralyzed from the waist down. On top of that, the complicated fractures in both arms meant his right hand had limited mobility. It was all my fault. I had stolen Thomas's dream of becoming a doctor, the hope of our family, everything. If only I hadn't been there that night. No. If only I hadn't started hanging out with those delinquents in the first place, none of this would have happened. From that moment, I thought there would never be another dawn in my life. Michael. I stared blankly at the IV drip, unable to focus. Thomas looked at me with a worried expression. His body was wrapped in countless bandages, and his face was still swollen and bruised. I've done something that can't be fixed with an apology, I said. Mom and Dad were right. It's my fault. It's because I became the delinquent that I ruined your life. I couldn't bring myself to look directly at Thomas's face, and instead buried mine in the edge of his bed. I would never forget the expressions on my parents' faces when they saw Thomas in his battered state. They didn't say a single word of blame to me. Instead, they sat on the bench in the waiting room, lifeless, like empty shells. They had listened calmly to Dr. Moore's explanation and completed all the necessary procedures without issue, but their inner turmoil must have been unimaginable. I realized then that I hadn't just stolen Thomas's future. I had taken away my parents' hope as well. Michael, I need you to listen to me. Above me, I heard Thomas's calm voice. There's something I've been meaning to say for a long time. What is it? I lifted my head. Thomas, avoiding my gaze, spoke softly. I was struggling. What? Every time I was called a genius, I felt like the pressure was suffocating me. My parents, my teachers, everyone had such high expectations for me. It became unbearable. I couldn't help but catch my breath. I hated it. If I scored first on a test, they'd tell me to aim even higher next time. Even the idea of going to medical school, it wasn't my own dream. I had no idea. I was completely unaware of the silent struggles Thomas had been carrying. But you, Michael, you were different. Thomas said this while giving me a soft, heartfelt smile. You were the only one who saw me as your little brother, not just some high-achieving student. No matter how good my grades were or how much praise I got from others, it didn't matter to you. Do you remember? Thomas's gaze grew distant as if he was reminiscing about an old memory. I came home once with a perfect score on a language test, but honestly, I didn't feel happy about it. Our parents didn't notice how I felt, so they just kept praising me endlessly like always. But you were different. That moment came flooding back to me vividly. Hey, Thomas, hurry up and finish your homework so we can play baseball in the park, you said. After helping me with my homework, you brought out that beat-up glove of yours and laughed, saying, I'll make sure you hit a home run today, like it was the most natural thing in the world. As he spoke, the expression on his face turned into that of the carefree little brother I used to know. Everyone else called me a genius, but you always just called me Thomas. You never brought up studying. You just treated me like your little brother. After we'd run around, covered in sweat, you'd always say, You're probably tired, right? I'll treat you to some ice cream. Even though I knew your allowance was tight, yet you always bought it for me. The memory of my little brother's childish, joyful smile was as vivid as if it had happened yesterday. Those simple, casual words of yours meant more to me than any praise or encouragement I received. While everyone else forced me to wear the mask of a genius, you let me just be myself. You have no idea how much that saved me. Tears began to stream down Thomas's face, large and uncontrollable. I was scared of being hated by you, Michael. But before I knew it, the distance between us had grown, and I didn't know how to close it. Those words pierced my heart. It was true. I had become a delinquent and thrown away the time I should have spent with my precious brother. But Thomas had always thought of me, his older brother, all along. So now I feel relieved, he whispered. Finally, I've been freed from our parents' expectations. I don't have to become a doctor anymore. You idiot. My voice trembled. And now, I feel like I can just be your brother. Thinking about that, I'm actually. Before he could finish, I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have been proud to have a brother like you, but instead, I let my inferiority complex blind me. We could have spent time together as siblings like we used to, but I let my stupid pride get in the way and distanced myself from you. I didn't even notice your cries for help. I'm the worst kind of brother, and I'm so sorry. Michael, Thomas struggled to speak, his voice filled with determination. Just having you back as my brother is enough for me. I'm truly happy. In that moment, I made a decision to protect Thomas's future. I would become a better person. No matter what happens from now on, I will protect you with my hands. I'll do what yours can't. I promise I'll protect you, Michael. The setting sun streaming into the room painted Thomas's face a deep red. I held his right hand tightly, as if I'd never let go. In the following days, a question consumed my thoughts. What am I good at? What can I do for Thomas? As I pondered these questions, I absent-mindedly picked up a book Thomas had been engrossed in reading, titled Programming for Beginners. The book seemed overwhelmingly complex at first glance, making my head spin. Yet, there was something about it that deeply drew me in. Michael, are you interested in programming? Interested? Not really. I was just looking at what you were reading. I tried to brush it off, but the truth was, my curiosity about the unknown world of programming was growing steadily. Drawn by that curiosity, I found myself diving headfirst into studying programming. Michael, are you seriously aiming to be a programmer one day? In the break room, a coworker asked me with a puzzled expression as I read a technical book. Wow, who knew you were so ambitious? That's impressive. Ignoring the remark, I silently turned the page. I juggled multiple part-time jobs, took care of Thomas, and continued studying whenever I had a free moment. With no money to spare, I used the public computers at the local community center for as long as the time limits allowed, typing out the code I had just learned. Each time an error message popped up, I was filled with a mix of frustration and guilt. Frustration from wondering why I was doing this alone, and guilt from feeling I couldn't face Thomas unless I mastered this skill. During breaks, I practiced writing sample code on my phone, slowly building experience. Despite the teasing and cold stares from my coworkers, I refused to give up. Michael, you're amazing. As proof of my progress, I created a simple typing software from scratch, following a guide at the end of a textbook. Thomas was speechless with amazement when he saw it. Seeing his reaction secretly thrilled me, but I tried to hide it by shaking my head. It's nothing. You're the amazing one, Thomas, understanding all this difficult stuff so easily. No way, it's just because I happen to be good at English. I could sense disconsideration from me in those words. Still, it's not just about typing out template code, you know, he added, pausing briefly while moving the cursor with his left hand and staring at the code on the screen. Michael, this isn't just me being kind because we're siblings. Getting this far through self-study, that's talent. His words made my eyes well up. I'd never been acknowledged like this before. But Thomas, he truly saw me for who I was. I took a deep breath and turned back to the screen. After earning several IT-related certifications and programming qualifications, I eventually joined the major IT company, Symphonia Systems, as a contract employee. Michael, could you handle a system development? Sarah's clear voice echoed through the office. Yes, I've got it covered, I responded, clattering away on the keyboard. Sarah, known as the ace of the sales department, had a reputation for her beauty. Her long black hair and intelligent demeanor earned admiration throughout the office. She was 2 years older than me and highly knowledgeable about IT, handling technical discussions with ease. Still, isn't it reckless to take on such a large-scale system all on your own? Designing and coding it all by yourself is just too much, isn't it? A look of concern spread across Sarah's face. I'll have it completed by the deadline. Don't worry, I said without taking my eyes off the monitor. There was no falsehood in my words. This scale of work could be completed within a week. Since joining the company, my finances had improved, allowing me to take paid programming courses on weekends and attend networking events where others reviewed my code. Thanks to those efforts, my skills had significantly broadened since I first joined. Now I could even handle complex requests from other employees. Michael, do you have a moment? The development lead, Timothy, approached my desk. I wanted to hear your thoughts on this design document. He handed over the design plans for the core system overhaul of a major client. You want my opinion? Of course. There aren't many engineers in this company who understand customer needs as well as you do, Timothy continued enthusiastically. And that emergency response the other day, it was flawless. Honestly, you saved us all. He placed a hand on his chest, visibly relieved. Having you here is a real blessing for us, Michael. Thank you. His words warmed something deep inside my chest. Still, someone as talented as you being a temp worker? Should I talk to management about making you a permanent employee? No, I think being a temp suits me better. I see. Timothy walked away with a puzzled expression while I kept typing away at my code. One day. Hey, temp. As I was looking at the monitor, a sharp male voice suddenly rang out. Since I was the only temp employee, I instinctively turned around to see a good-looking man, not much older than me, staring down at me with a condescending gaze. Stephen. It was Stephen, the son of Mr. Sullivan, the president of Symphonia Systems and the company's next president. In recent years, due to Mr. Sullivan's illness and need for recovery, Stephen had been entrusted with the company's day-to-day management. A graduate of a prestigious university where he majored in business administration, Stephen also independently acquired system-related certifications, earning him the reputation of a promising successor. However, to me, his sharp, scheming eyes and the unnerving, perfect black suit he always wore exuded an air of menace. Despite his refined appearance, there was something unsettling about him that made my instincts worry. Most of all, his perpetually condescending attitude and behavior toward those around him reminded me of the bad types I had encountered in the past. "What's the progress on the recent project?" Stephen asked. "It's on schedule. I plan to deliver it the day after tomorrow," I replied. "Pretty confident for a temp, aren't you?" Stephen's tone was laced with contempt. "In work, there's no distinction between temp or permanent employees." I responded as calmly as I could, but it seemed to irritate him. He shot me a fierce glare and suddenly shouted at the top of his lungs, "Everyone, gather around." Summoning the employees with a piercing voice, the employees' faces collectively darkened. Yet, they reluctantly began gathering in the center of the office. Here we go again. I wonder who's getting roasted this time. I heard murmurs from the younger staff. A sense of dread crept over me, and I could do nothing but stand frozen in place, bracing for the worst. Stephen suddenly slammed his hand against the board, displaying each department's progress, and barked. This quarter's performance is unsatisfactory. Do you know why? Marking the start of his public scolding session, he singled out the sales department. Why are the numbers for new client acquisition so low? Sarah, explain yourself. Sarah quietly stepped forward. Yes, we've been proactively making visits, but initially, we focused on building trust with clients to establish a reliable relationship. Is that an excuse? Stephen's angry voice cut her off mid-sentence. Results are everything. Do whatever it takes to secure those deals. Stephen ruthlessly dismissed the earnest effort Sarah had put into her work. The systems development department is no different. There are 3 projects with delayed deadlines. What's going on? I could see the faces of the employees in the targeted department twisting with discomfort. Stephen. One of the younger employees hesitantly stepped forward. The delays are due to specification changes requested by the clients, and the additional workload is... Shut up. Stephen's fist slammed into the board once again. All you do is make excuses. Listen up. Show some grit, work overtime, and come in on weekends. If you put in the hours, it'll get done. And another thing. Stephen's gaze turned toward me. There's a temp worker here, acting all high and mighty, pretending to be on the same level as the full-time employees. I don't like it. With a cruel smirk, he said something completely unexpected. From today, you're the office errand boy. You won't be doing any system work, obviously. What? But there's embedded work that only Michael can handle, though. My colleagues, looking bewildered, tried to object. Shut up, losers. Someone free can handle it. Besides, I can manage a system or 2 myself. He added smugly, pointing at himself. For now, go wipe down all the chairs in the conference room. Make sure to clean every corner thoroughly. Yes. If you try to slack off, I'll terminate your contract immediately. Understood. I bowed deeply, and Stephen flashed a cruel smile. Temps like you should stick to this kind of work. Trying to act like a full-time employee? You're 100 years too early for that. With that, Stephen turned on his heel and left. As I continued to wipe down the chairs, I noticed Sarah standing near the conference room door. Michael, she said. Sarah, what's wrong? She walked over and handed me something. Here, please eat this. I looked down to see a warm rice ball in my hand. Thank you. I'll help you, Sarah said as she picked up a cloth. I opened my mouth to stop her at that moment when... Hey, what's going on here? Stephen burst into the conference room. A temp, trying to cozy up to an employee. Pathetic. Michael is a talented engineer. Sarah stood up for me without hesitation. Shut up. Sarah, come with me, he said, forcefully reaching out to grab her arm. I casually stepped between Stephen and Sarah, as if by coincidence, and said nonchalantly, "Oh, excuse me." With movements so natural, it seemed like I was merely passing through the hallway. I intercepted. "Hey, don't get in the way." "Oh, was I not supposed to stand here?" I tilted my head, pretending innocence, and asked with a childlike curiosity. Who knew that my old delinquent demeanor would come in handy like this? "Sarah, by the way, did you have a chance to review the design document from the other day?" "Oh, yes, about that." Sarah caught on quickly and seamlessly joined the conversation. "Hey, don't change the subject," Stephen barked. "Oh, Stephen, are you curious too? Would you like me to explain the system structure?" I asked enthusiastically, as though I were thrilled to share. Reaching for the thick design document, I kept up the act. "Look, this flowchart here is particularly fascinating." As I passionately tried to explain, like a high school teacher enthusiastically lecturing, Stephen was completely taken aback. He started to say something, but, unable to navigate the situation, left the conference room without another word. Phew, Sarah and I sighed in relief at the same time. Michael, that was brilliant, Sarah said with a small laugh. Well, I'm pretty good at that kind of acting. I scratched my head awkwardly to hide my embarrassment. But truly, thank you so much. No, you helped me earlier too. Sarah, it's mutual. Sarah glanced at the rice ball from before and quietly spoke, "Oh, the rice ball. Please have a bite if you'd like." Thank you. I took a bite, and the perfect balance of saltiness made my eyes widen in surprise. Michael, I really think you're amazing, Sarah said suddenly. What? At first, I thought, oh no, a scary-looking guy has joined us. She smiled apologetically. But after watching how you work, I realized I was the one learning so much. That's an exaggeration. No, it's true. You handle complex projects all on your own, take care of the juniors, and you're always there to help anyone in trouble. It was true that I couldn't stand seeing someone struggle without stepping in to help. What moved me the most was during the emergency late at night last month. Sarah's voice carried a hint of emotion. When the data was lost, and we in sales were in complete panic, you stayed without a word, working through the night to recover everything. Oh, that time, but that's just normal. I can't ignore people in trouble. That's what makes you amazing. The way you say things are normal. Sarah's eyes glimmered with a serious light. That's the thing, Michael. What you see as normal is extraordinary to us. Your humility, your kindness in not ignoring people who are struggling, it's all inspiring. Sarah, when I ask for advice about work, you listen so carefully. When I'm in trouble, you come running without hesitation. Actually, it's me who should be thanking you. Just earlier, for instance. That's so like you, Michael. Always downplaying your own strengths, even when people look down on you for being a temp. You silently deliver results. You don't hurt others, but you protect them. Watching you gives me the courage to be strong too. I've been struggling with something for a long time. Sarah glanced towards the sunlight streaming into the room and began speaking softly. Ever since I was young, people always called me beautiful. It became everything they saw in me. In school, people would say, "Oh, Sarah is so pretty," or "It must be nice being good-looking," or even, "I bet you only got hired because of your looks." I stayed silent, letting her words sink in. At some point, I think I began hiding behind that label of being beautiful. It felt safer to keep my distance from others rather than risk getting hurt. I smiled and acted friendly, but I never let anyone truly know me. Sarah paused briefly, then looked straight at me. But working with you changed me, Michael. At first, I thought, here we go again, another person judging me by my looks. But you were different. Different. When I came to you for help with sales strategies, you took me seriously. You explained technical systems to me with so much patience. You didn't treat me like a beautiful woman. You treated me like a salesperson, a professional. Embarrassed, I averted my gaze. That's when I realized something. I had locked myself into this beautiful box all on my own. I built walls before others could build them, but I didn't have to do that. Sarah, that's not the case anymore. Now, even in business meetings with clients, I can clearly express my opinions. Just the other day, during a big meeting with only male colleagues, I even explained the technical aspects of the system I used, what Michael taught me, and put it into my own words. Afterward, they said, "Sarah, you're amazing." And it wasn't about my looks. It was about my work. With her eyes glistening, Sarah gave a soft smile. Maybe being beautiful is a part of who I am, but it's not all that I am. I can work hard, understand technology, and stand my ground when I need to. You helped me see that potential in myself, Michael. No, that's because of your effort, Sarah. There you go again, not accepting credit. But that's one of the wonderful things about you, Michael. The smile on Sarah's face, illuminated by the sunlight, no longer showed hesitation. There she stood, shedding her shell, radiating as a strong, independent woman. Before I realized it, we were looking at each other. The warm glow of the setting sun streaming into the conference room bathed Sarah's profile in a soft orange hue. Michael. Yes. Would you like another rice ball? Her hand offered it as if to hide her embarrassment, trembling slightly. Oh, thank you. As I reached out to take it, our fingertips lightly brushed for a moment. We both instinctively started to pull back, but stopped. It's delicious. I'm glad. The air in the conference room felt inexplicably warm. Though unspoken, something new and unexplainable had clearly begun to grow between us. From then on, I found myself talking to Sarah more frequently. Michael, I need to consult with you about this design document. Sure, go ahead. About this section of the structure. Even in the break room, as I brewed coffee, she would often come over to chat. What started as work-related discussions gradually turned into casual conversations. You're surprisingly funny, Michael. Wait, what's that supposed to mean? At first, you seemed intimidating and unapproachable, but you're kind, dependable, and unexpectedly cute. Me? Cute? I let out a nervous laugh, trying to brush it off, and Sarah responded with a gentle smile. These exchanges didn't go unnoticed by Stephen, who watched us with a cold, disdainful gaze. Hey, temp. One day, while I was focused on my monitor, Stephen suddenly called out to me. Yes? I turned around to see him standing there, expressionless. You seem to have gotten quite friendly with Sarah. We're just discussing work. Don't think you can flirt with a full-time employee. You're a temp, after all. At that moment, oh, Michael, about that matter we discussed the other day. Sarah happened to walk by and spoke to me with a smile. Hey, Stephen's voice suddenly grew louder. Sarah, don't you have work to do? Yes, but this is work-related too. Shut up. The atmosphere froze instantly. Don't get cocky for a temp worker. Stephen turned to face me. Go wipe down all the chairs. Yes. When you're done, clean the floors. Every corner. No exceptions. The next day, and the day after that, it was the same. I wasn't allowed to do any system development work, only an increasing pile of menial tasks. Hey, this chair still has dust on it. As soon as Stephen entered the conference room, he started shouting. I quietly checked the chair, but no matter where I looked, there wasn't any dust. I'm sorry, but could you show me where? Right here. He pointed at the chair, but there was nothing on it. Are you blind? Can't you see how dirty it is? The other employees around us wore uncomfortable expressions. It was obvious to everyone that this was just an excuse to harass me. I'll clean it again next. Clean the restroom. Every corner. Got it. Yes. Excuse me, Stephen. Sarah stood up. Michael is currently on a deadline for an important system maintenance task. Shut up. Stephen's roar echoed through the room. How long are you planning to side with the temp worker? But this is clearly wrong. Michael is a talented engineer. Why make him do this kind off? We don't have the luxury of keeping a temp who can't even handle basic chores. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to come in. Contract terminated. The room fell into a stunned silence. That's... Please wait. Sarah desperately protested. If Michael is gone, the system we. Sarah's voice trailed off as Stephen cut her off, his tone icy. Do you want to lose your job too? Defending a temp. In that instant, the color drained from Sarah's face. I could see a storm of emotions flickering across her expression. Remittances, rent, living expenses. She had told me about the money she sent to support her parents' care. At that moment, something inside me shifted. Stephen. I stood up slowly, locking eyes with him. Understood. Thank you for everything up until now. What? Sarah's voice trembled. Sarah. When I turned to face her, my expression was unusually calm. Thank you, but it's okay. Thank you for everything. Be deeply. I walked back to my desk as I packed up my belongings. Sarah's tearful face pierced my heart, but this was the best, no, the only kindness I could offer her right now. Michael in the hospital rehabilitation room. Thomas was watching me with concern. Sorry, I got fired again, I said with a rueful smile, sitting down in front of Thomas in his wheelchair. Tell me everything. His voice was surprisingly calm. After I finished recounting what had happened, Thomas let out a small sigh. You're really not cut out for working in an organization, are you? Unfortunately, no. I looked up at the ceiling. I guess I just can't work under someone else. That guy's unreasonable attitude. What happened with Sarah? I just couldn't take it. But you did your best. Thomas's voice was gentle. And you learned a lot in your own way, didn't you? Well, yeah. I let out a bitter laugh. But I can't compromise my principles. And that's perfectly fine. Thomas smiled softly. Just keep living the way you are, Michael. Thomas, besides, his eyes took on a serious glint. You have someone to protect, don't you? What? Sarah. It seems like you care about her a lot. No. My cheeks grew hot. It's not like that. Really? His smile carried a knowing undertone. A few days passed after that. As the morning sun bathed the room, I found myself recalling Thomas's words. You have someone to protect, don't you? Sarah's smile suddenly surfaced in my mind. Her kind eyes, her earnest work ethic, and the fleeting expressions of vulnerability she occasionally showed. That tearful face I saw last still lingered deeply in my heart. I wondered how she was doing now. Was she enduring Stephen's unreasonable behavior all alone? The thought made my chest tighten. At that moment, my phone started vibrating. I reached into my pocket to check it. When I saw the name on the screen, my heart jumped. Sarah. With trembling fingers, I pressed the answer button. Hello. Hello. Is something wrong? Michael, please help me. A tense voice came through the receiver. The system has completely gone down. We've lost communication with our clients and even our internal network. And there's no one here who can fix it. Stay calm. I'll be there right away. I hung up quickly, stuffed whatever materials I could find into my bag, and sprinted to the nearest station. When I arrived at Symphonia Systems, the office was in chaos, filled with shouts and the incessant ringing of phones. Employees were rushing around with anxious expressions. Michael. Sarah ran up to me. What's the status of the system? The main server isn't responding. Even the backup seems to have failed. Heading straight to the server room, I heard Stephen's angry voice echoing from within. What the hell is going on? Is there no one here who understands this system? Michael. A colleague called out as Stephen turned to see me. Who called him here? He's been fired. Ignoring his outburst, I opened my laptop and focused on the monitor. What exactly happened? Actually, Sarah began, her expression showing clear anger towards Stephen as she explained the situation. At first, it was just a minor network issue, something any of the system development staff could have handled easily with minimal damage to the system. But then Stephen made a reckless move. Perhaps due to his misplaced confidence from dabbling in system-related tasks, he ignored everyone's warnings and started tampering with the system's core settings on his own. However, when it came to programming, he was practically an amateur and had no understanding of how the system functioned. As expected, the system crashed, and the current situation was the disastrous result. I sighed quietly and focused on the code displayed on the monitor. Here it is. It seemed that Stephen had tampered with the security protocol settings, which were at the heart of the system. Internally fuming at his meddling, I began carefully repairing the code, line by line. What do you think you're doing, Michael? The person responsible for this disaster was doing nothing but shouting angrily. "You're not part of this company anymore. Get out now." "I'll leave after fixing the system," I replied calmly, continuing to focus on debugging and verifying the code with all my effort. "Michael." Sarah's concerned voice reached me as I worked. When I looked around, I noticed a growing crowd of employees silently watching my progress. "It's okay," I said. "I'm proceeding carefully, so it will take some time, but I'll restore it for sure." I pointed at the logs displayed on the screen and explained. The employees around me visibly relaxed. However, the monitor continued to show error messages with no signs of improvement. If this persisted, it would disrupt data connections with clients, leading to massive losses for the company. The pressure and urgency caused sweat to trickle down my temple. "I'll call security." Stephen's threats didn't register in my ears anymore. "It's done." I finally showed the screen indicating normal operation. In that instant, the office erupted in cheer. The tension that had gripped everyone was released, and some even collapsed onto the floor in relief. "Michael, thank you so much. I don't know how to express my gratitude." Sarah, visibly relieved, bowed deeply. The system returned to normal operation, and the damage to other connected systems was kept to a minimum. I also reinforced the backup system, ensuring the program was restructured to handle future issues efficiently. As relief spread through the office, Stephen crossed his arms and shot a cold glare in my direction. "Why is someone who doesn't belong here still in this building?" Stephen's voice rang out loudly. "Stephen, what are you talking about?" Ignoring Sarah's protest, he continued. "I told you before, you're no longer associated with this company. That makes you an outsider, doesn't it?" "That's true, but if I hadn't come, the system would have been irreparably damaged." "That's just an excuse. I'll press charges for trespassing." "Hey, security, get him out of here." At Stephen's shouting, 2 uniformed security guards hesitantly approached. However, they seemed unsure of the situation and simply exchanged puzzled glances. At that moment, the sound of heavy footsteps and a cane echoed down the hallway. An elderly gentleman appeared, his face lined with fatigue, but radiating an unmistakable aura of dignity. "There's no need for that, Stephen." Standing at the server room door was none other than Henry Sullivan, the president of Symphonia Systems and Stephen's father. "Dad, why are you here?" Stephen's voice trembled. Mr. Sullivan's voice grew sharper. "It seems there's a lot you don't know." "What do you mean?" Stephen's face froze. Mr. Sullivan, looking at his son with a disgusted tone, revealed an unexpected truth. "He is the one who built our company system." The server room fell into stunned silence. "What? No way." 10 years ago, Mr. Sullivan began to speak slowly. "When I was hospitalized, I happened to meet a young man in the room next to mine." As he recounted the story, I too began reflecting on that fateful encounter. "Hurry, his breathing is dropping. Henry, can you hear me?" The voices of nurses and emergency doctors echoed in his semi-conscious state. Overworked as the president, he had collapsed suddenly at the office and was rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, he survived, and his recovery was deemed stable enough to move to a general ward. Normally, he would have been assigned a private room, but due to extensive hospital renovations at the time, there was a shortage of private accommodations. That's how he ended up next to Thomas's room, which was the beginning of it all. "Excuse me, are you okay?" Thomas's concerned voice broke through Henry's groggy state. It seemed he had fallen asleep and unknowingly let out some groans. "Ah, it seems I was having a bad dream," Henry said, trying to sit up. "Ouch. Wait a moment." Thomas skillfully maneuvered his wheelchair to his bedside. "Michael, help out for a second." From the back of the room, I appeared with practiced hands. I gently helped him sit up. "Thank you, both of you." As his breathing steadied, he took a sip of water from the bedside pitcher and finally got a good look at our faces. Nice to meet you. I'm Henry, and your name is? I'm Thomas, he replied. I've been here a while, so feel free to ask me anything. Thomas explained that while he was already an adult, he had suffered a serious injury in an accident during his student days and was now devoting himself to treatment and rehabilitation. Thomas's unclouded smile seemed almost dazzling to Mr. Sullivan. And this is my older brother, Thomas continued. He may not look it, but he's an incredibly hard worker. Hey, don't say too much about that. With a wry smile, I introduced myself and explained that I was working part-time while taking care of my brother and frequently visiting the hospital. From then on, whenever time allowed, we began sharing stories about ourselves. Our small interactions became a source of solace during his hospital stay. As usual, Thomas began boasting about me. Even though Michael sacrifices so much of his time, he's been teaching himself programming and creating his own software. He spoke enthusiastically, showing off a laptop. What? You made this yourself? Looking at the contents, Mr. Sullivan was speechless. Mistaking his reaction for a sign of worsening health, I asked with concern, Are you okay? Do you need to lie down? No, that's not it. My body's fine. I'm just amazed. Back in high school, Mr. Sullivan had been captivated by the world of programming, where seemingly incomprehensible lines of code could bring characters to life exactly as he envisioned. That fascination drove him to pursue a career as a system engineer with relentless determination. However, after founding his own company, he became both physically and mentally exhausted. To gain recognition, he had to consistently deliver profits, and the constant pressure of ensuring the livelihoods of his employees left no room for failure. The weight of living in a world where everything was measured and judged by numbers wore him down. I barely spent time with my family, and even after my wife passed away, I devoted myself entirely to work. Then, in front of him, appeared us. I was now carrying on the dreams Thomas could no longer pursue, striving with all my might to carve out my own path. Our circumstances and the deep care we showed for each other stirred something in Mr. Sullivan's heart. Michael, do you have more programs like this? Sure. With that, I brought over my laptop. As Mr. Sullivan looked at the lines of code displayed on the screen, he was left speechless. You taught yourself, and this is remarkable. The program I was working on happened to resemble the core elements of the system Mr. Sullivan had been struggling with at his company. Lifting his gaze to meet ours, he spoke with conviction. Michael, Thomas, would you consider working with me? What, actually? I replied. I'm planning to completely overhaul my company system, but finding a talented system engineer who can build the kind of system I envision has been incredibly difficult. Michael, I'm confident that you can create something extraordinary. So I'd like you to design and develop an entirely new system program for my company from scratch. And as a token of gratitude, I'll cover all of Thomas's medical expenses, including rehabilitation and living costs during the project. Mr. Sullivan's proposal left both of us stunned. With our parents' salaries barely enough to cover Thomas's treatment, I had been juggling multiple part-time jobs to support us. Despite my struggles and inability to secure a steady job due to my past, I had taught myself enough programming skills to reach this level for my brother's sake. Mr. Sullivan was deeply impressed by my determination. As a system engineer myself, when I looked at his code, it sent chills down my spine. Programming skills aren't something you can acquire overnight, and it takes relentless, painstaking effort, countless failures, and an unyielding determination to keep moving forward. Every single line of his code conveys that incredible dedication. The structure of his code is remarkably organized for someone self-taught, with efficient logic and, most importantly, a design philosophy that prioritizes the user above all else. Michael, you are undoubtedly talented, and I'm certain you'll create something exceptional. Anyone who looks at your work can see it immediately. At Mr. Sullivan's words, I crossed my arms and thought for a while before responding, "I'll take on the challenge." Then I began building the core system from scratch. "I see, so that's why Michael was so familiar with our system." Sarah's voice was followed by murmurs of understanding from the surrounding employees. The atmosphere in the server room felt as though all the lingering doubts had suddenly dissolved. Unable to endure the shift, Stephen's ragged breathing broke the silence. "Huh, sure, you might be able to build a system, but you're just a temp, aren't you? And now, you're nothing more than a fired temp worker." Stephen's voice trembled as he spoke. It was painfully obvious that his wounded pride was driving him to desperately try to demean me. "Unlike me, speeding down the path of the elite, you're nothing but a societal misfit, a shut-in who can't even hold a proper conversation. A failure that no one needs. A total loser." The louder Stephen's voice became, the more his words reeked of empty bravado. The once overbearing figure he had projected was nowhere to be seen. In his place stood a pitiable man beginning to realize his own powerlessness. "Oh my, Stephen, whatever are you talking about? When did I ever say I was unemployed? Oh, come on, you're done as a system engineer, aren't you?" After that, I made sure to spread plenty of rumors about you in the industry. I told everyone you were an irresponsible guy who suddenly disappeared and abandoned a critical project. No matter how skilled you are, no reputable company would take the risk of hiring someone like that, right? Your career is over, both as a programmer and as a system engineer. Nobody's going to let you handle any important systems ever again, are they? Ha ha. With a sinister grin, Stephen smugly spoke. Mr. Sullivan attempted to counter Stephen's words, but I stepped forward to interrupt, standing in front of him. "Stephen, thank you for your concern. I'm sorry for the delay, but here's my business card." As Stephen glanced at the card I held out, the color drained from his face. "You, this company." The card bore the name of the trending IT venture, BS Technology. A few years ago, Tom had established the company while still pursuing his studies. As an executive and systems engineer, I collaborated with various corporations, spearheading system development projects that earned widespread recognition within the industry. The unique aspect of having a president in a wheelchair, combined with Thomas' sharp intellect and business acumen, allowed him to seal deal after deal, further enhancing the company's reputation. In just 3 years, BS Technology had grown rapidly, reaching an annual revenue of nearly $10 million. Mr. Sullivan broke the silence with a heavy tone. "Michael didn't work here for the money. I practically begged him to help strengthen our systems. He already has more than enough wealth." "Then why is a temp?" one of the employees asked with genuine curiosity. "That's because I wanted to understand what a company is like from the inside. So I joined as a temp. I wanted him to work as a full-time employee, but he flatly refused, saying he was already an employee of BS Technology." Mr. Sullivan's wry smile spoke volumes about my stubbornness. "That said, even in emergencies like today, I'll always respond." "Of course." Turning to Mr. Sullivan, I gave him a sly grin. "I'll be sending you the invoice." The room erupted in laughter. "Ha! Spoken like someone who runs a multi-million-dollar company." Even during his recovery, Mr. Sullivan clapped me on the shoulder with surprising strength. In the business world, goodwill alone isn't enough to keep things running. As I stepped out of the company to head home, the surroundings were already shrouded in darkness. "Michael." I turned to see Sarah jogging after me. "Sarah?" When I turned around, her expression suggested she had something she wanted to say. Seeing her like this, she looked even more beautiful than before, so much so that I couldn't help but stare. Thank you for today." "It's nothing." Not knowing what kind of expression to make, I tried to keep my composure. "I didn't realize you were with BS Technology." The faintly glowing streetlights reflected in her eyes. "If anything, I'm sorry. It might feel like I deceived you." "No, that's not it. That's not why I came to talk to you." She paused for a moment. Can we meet again? Her words echoed through the quiet evening streets, leaving me momentarily stunned. Her cheeks flushed red as she glanced up at me shyly. Her endearing gesture made me catch my breath. Ah, of course. At that moment, Sarah, wait. Stephen's voice rang out through the night. He approached, holding an extravagant bouquet and dressed in a designer suit. What once might have seemed imposing now looked small and insignificant in my eyes. Stephen, I've already told you many times, haven't I? I'm not interested. Sarah's voice trembled. Without thinking, I stepped half a pace forward in front of her. Come on, I booked a table at the finest French restaurant tonight. There's even talk of a promotion. No. Sarah's voice shook, but it carried a firm resolve. Please stop approaching me. I don't want this anymore. Stephen, can't you see? She doesn't want this. When I spoke to check him, Stephen's eyes turned sharp. This is none of your business. Get out of my way. He tried to shove me aside, but I didn't budge an inch. Hey, you're an outsider. A fired temp like you has no place here. He reached out to grab Sarah's arm. Don't touch her. My voice, calm and steady, cut through the air. The moment Stephen met my gaze, the color drained from his face. I'm sorry. Muttering hastily, he bolted from the scene. Are you okay? That must have been terrifying. I'm sorry, even I was startled by how low and firm my voice had sounded. Had I scared her? When I turned to look at Sarah, she shook her head gently. No, that's not it. Thank you for protecting me. In that moment, illuminated by the streetlight, her smile was the most beautiful I had ever seen. I like you, Michael. Ever since you left, it felt like a hole had opened in my heart, and I realized just how big a presence you were to me. Sarah's voice trembled slightly. I like you too, Sarah. My voice was hoarse, but I managed to convey my feelings clearly. I'm so happy. Gently, I wrapped my arms around her small shoulders, holding her close. A few weeks later, the chaos caused by the internal system disruption led Mr. Sullivan to secretly investigate the behavior of his son, Stephen, which he had long found suspicious. What he uncovered was a string of misdeeds committed while Stephen was away from the company. They ranged from persistent harassment of female employees to numerous acts of embezzlement and even criminal-like activities involving client company staff. Each revelation was more appalling than the last. The sheer weight of his son's actions left Mr. Sullivan so shocked that he fell ill from the stress. Dad, this has to be a mistake. There's no way I'd do anything that could get me arrested. But Stephen's desperate cries were in vain. With his true character fully exposed, the foundation of status and authority he had built crumbled entirely. Stephen was summarily dismissed without question, though his father showed him a final act of mercy by ensuring he avoided prosecution. There was no place left for him in the company or anywhere else. Symphonia Systems experienced a temporary decline in sales due to Stephen's misconduct. However, under a reorganized leadership structure, the company embarked on a fresh start. Labor regulations were revised, introducing management systems to prevent future misconduct, and restructuring personnel policies to prevent power from concentrating in the hands of a select few. With Sarah at the forefront, a more employee-friendly environment was being steadily established. Meanwhile, at BS Technology, I was deeply engrossed in developing a new system in one of the office rooms. Another all-nighter, Michael. Yeah, but I'm almost done. Thomas looked at me with concern as I continued to focus on the lines of code displayed on the screen. You're the president. You should take it easy. Trying to lighten the mood, I gave Thomas a playful nudge on the shoulder. Got it. But promise me you won't skip meals like you did yesterday. Yeah, I know. Now that the employees have gone home, this quiet time when the president and the employee revert to simply being brothers has become a heartwarming moment for me. Thanks to the new close ties formed with Symphonia Systems, BS Technology has secured several new contracts, and revenue continues to climb steadily. Tonight, I had a long-awaited dinner date with Sarah at an elegant restaurant. I've sworn to myself that tonight, I'll make it happen. Sarah, yes. After finishing most of our meal, we sipped wine together. Tonight, Sarah looked more stunning than ever in a chic navy dress, and her long hair, styled in loose waves, accentuated her beauty even more. I spent most of my life hiding behind a facade, trying to protect myself. But meeting you made me question whether that version of myself was truly who I am, Michael. But I don't think it was all for nothing. Because of it, I was able to protect both Thomas and you. I knelt on the floor, reaching into my pocket to retrieve a small box. That's why I want to keep protecting you as family. I opened the box to reveal a ring. Will you marry me? In that moment, tears welled up in Sarah's eyes and rolled down her cheeks. Yes, I would be honored. She gave me the same radiant smile I had fallen for long ago. Everyone has the ability to overcome past failures and move forward. I was once shackled by my delinquent past, unable to trust others. But I came to realize that there are people who see and appreciate my efforts, and that awareness became the driving force to help others. It is because we have people to protect that we find strength. It is because we have people to love that we can keep moving forward, rather than being weighed down by past mistakes. I've chosen to use them as a springboard to carve a brighter path ahead. I only hope to continue living in a way that honors the choice and the people I cherish.